And 3, 2, 1. Just that. We're live, buddy. Well, we're not live, but we're filming. Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Spencer Reynolds, for those who don't know, here are his credentials. I went to your gallery, man. I think before one of my shows, I was going to play at Oxenfree with my buddy Taylor when we were playing a band called the Schlocks.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in and we had some really cool conversations as we were getting ready to kind of warm up for our gig. And it really struck an impact, man. Your art really, really sat interestingly with me. It was something that I found myself thinking about for quite a while. And I think I had seen some of your work around town. I know a couple restaurants had been displaying it, but it's really interesting, man. It's really kind of something that I haven't seen before. You know what I mean? I've seen some of the pencil sketches or the ink pen sketches that you do.
Uh-huh.
I've seen something similar to that before, but as far as like your paintings and stuff, man, it's really trips me out.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you get started doing art, man? What were your initial inspirations as a kid?
Well,
or if that's when it even started.
Yeah, my dad's an artist, and he so I was always kind of around it as a kid, and I think my initial interest in it was when I was in middle school. I mean, I was always drawing little like war scenes and stuff on, just like
stick figures battling.
Yeah, stick figures battling and stuff like that. But then when I was in middle school, the Town and Country surf designs t-shirts came out, and I had just gotten into surfing, and I loved the characters on the shirts. They were they're just well done, as by a guy named Steve Nazar, I think is his name. I could get that may be wrong, but it kind of got me into drawing a lot, and I started creating my own characters. And then
you created. What do you mean your own characters? As far as you customized some stick figures, or did you start like
I started making my own little cartoon surf characters, kind of like there was his were like Thrill the Gorilla and the Wave Warrior.
It was like your own comic strip kind of.
Yeah, totally.
Were you just making it for yourself? Entertainment.
Totally.
How old were you at this point? You were.
It's probably like 5th or 6th grade.
Oh yeah, man. That's when you start getting kind of some interesting thoughts, especially if you're drawing pictures of little war characters or something like that, man. 5th or 6th grade is kind of when you start to.
Yeah, so then it was all of a sudden little surf characters, and kind of like very, very reminiscent of what he was doing, but not nearly as good. But so I started. I think that just kind of got me interested in art, and then in high school I just started. I started taking art classes at the high school here, and
here in Brookings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
Brookings alum.
Yeah, Brookings alumni, class of *91.
We're rivals, bro.
Yeah. Oh, you're down north. Nice.
Born and raised. Yeah. Most of it.
Awesome.
Did they offer good art programs and stuff here when you were going through your initial grades? Your primary school?
I think it was fine. I don't have any complaints about it. I know
they do a lot of art when you were coming up through.
Yeah. Like it.
What year is this? When you're
this was the late '80s to early '90s.
Yeah.
So
they established that kind of.
Yeah, there was definitely a art program going on, and I don't know, man. I think I'm kind of a person that believes in just doing a lot of work is what makes you good. And I mean, you can have. I've had some great teachers, but even those teachers will say you just have to put in the time. So, So I honestly, I don't think I would have. I didn't really have a plan B. I
besides art?
Yeah, yeah.
So when you're going up through high school, and you're kind of everyone's kind of picking their major and starting to specialize in the classes they're taking, are you just doubling down on art classes or?
Yeah, I was doing as much as possible.
Yeah.
And even trying to make t-shirts for my friends. I would like airbrush t-shirts.
Back in high school?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's rad.
for specific things. Like we used to do this thing called turkey tube shoot. And that was a
Okay.
Thanksgiving morning thing where we'd go.
You guys all go out and hit it?
Yeah.
Nice.
So I would make designs and airbrush them for my friends, like tons of labor.
Do people, but see,
You didn't matter.
when you're that age and you give your friend a shirt you made and they're
Yeah.
like, dang, this is cool.
Yeah, it was the best. I wish I still had those shirts.
It seems like people that go in and pursue careers of like passion have those defining moments. You know what I mean? When they're younger, they find something that they do at some point in their formative years that really makes them like, oh man, especially for people that pursue creative things
Yeah.
for a career. It seems like there's kind of that one big moment where you're like, man, that was really gratifying. That's something that I'm willing to chase kind of at all costs, you know?
Totally. Yeah. And then I went to, after I graduated, I lived in Eugene for a couple of years, went to Lane Community College, and just
The dirty huge, dude.
Yeah, I did.
lived up in Eugene for a minute too. Yeah.
And I just kind of I really fucked off there. I really wasn't.
Dude, Eugene's an easy place to fuck off.
I wasn't serious. I was, and that was
taking art classes though.
I was taking art classes. It was community college, and I went to Lane, and I honestly didn't know. I signed up. I tried to get in the graphic design program. I didn't even know what graphic design was.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I had no idea. I was submitting illustrations and things like that, figure drawings and things like that, and
For this graphic design program.
yeah, for a graphic design program.
What did you perceive it as, or what did you had something?
I had no idea.
You
I had no idea. Yeah, graphics. I'm like, I was making graphics for
That's art.
t-shirts. Yeah. So, but it's
That's under the art subcategory in the pamphlet.
yeah. I had no
Music,
idea.
graphic
I was
design.
so green. I had no idea, and I didn't get in. And then I remember
You didn't get into.
I didn't get into the graphic design program at the.
Oh, they
community
denied
college.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think I came down here for summer, worked at the mill, and then I moved to Port Angeles. This was like at the height of the grunge era. Kurt Cobain was still alive, actually, too. And
Oh, dude, that was perfect for you. You were working at the mill. You were living that Pacific Northwest
yeah,
grunge life, dude. That's
Yeah.
badass.
and then and then I had signed up for the Art Institute of Seattle. I didn't
Oh,
really
wow.
I didn't really know art schools that well. That wasn't the greatest art school, but my peer influence there was I think that's what it was all about. Like everybody I hung out with was such a better artist than me, and
In Eugene or down?
in Seattle.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. I went from Port Angeles to Seattle
Okay.
after coming here for a summer. But yeah, then I was up in Seattle for most of the 90s, and
How was that, dude?
it was awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty badass.
That was a great time to be in Seattle. Like we were out seeing bands every week.
Give me your prototypical Seattle in the 90s. I was a grunge rock guy story. Let me hear the most grunge rock Seattle 90s story you got.
Well, I wasn't really like I've never really
You had to have seen some crazy shit.
Oh, I saw a lot of crazy bands.
Yeah.
I was never really one to like.
The shows were wild back then, right?
There was just a lot. Yeah, there was. I mean, there were so many good people like at just ordinary places, at laundromats. Like it was all over the place. I don't know what it's like now. I have no idea what it's like.
Oh,
now,
I've never.
It was
spent any
it
time
was
in
great.
Seattle.
I mean, I saw so many of my favorite bands. Back
Who you got on the roster for?
Well, even
Or some
before
of
that,
the
even
good
before
shows.
that, I'd seen. I still have the Ticketmaster stub for it, but I saw.
Ticketmaster.
I saw. This was when I was in Eugene, but at the Salem Armory, I saw Pearl Jam opened up.
Oh shit.
Nobody had heard of Pearl Jam. Nirvana played next, and the Chili Peppers were the headliners.
That's badass.
It was in the Salem Armory, and that was pretty cool.
That's like a dream show.
Yeah, that was amazing.
If you got that together now, a show like that would just blow the top off. You know what I mean?
Oh my
Chili
gosh.
Peppers is one of the only bands, or not. I shouldn't say that. I get sad when I think about music sometimes because I like thinking back like, well, the music when I was at the ripe old age of 30, the music when I was a kid was way better than this crap now. It's hard to not do that.
Yeah.
But that is a Chili Pepper show is a show that you would want to see, that you pay $100 to see 20 years ago, and you do it again today. You know what I mean? They're kind of one of those bands it seems like with art or music, those bands that, like you said, start out small time, the ones that are persistent, stick around and create some sort of like lineage over time, even if it's just 2 or 3 year period. The dependability of having a local band play or a local artist produce kind of gives you it gives you an opportunity to actually invest in them and come out and see their shows on a regular basis or purchase items from them that they produce that you enjoy. You know what I mean? It seems like that persistence is kind of key for the monetary success, for what lets you pursue that as an actual career that sustains you. Would you say that's true? Would you say persistence has been a big part of your journey to owning your own gallery now?
Like
because I can't imagine especially during that time, all the hurdles and the roadblocks. I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah, like my whole life has been, I mean, there's so much failure, you know, getting to a place where you can live as an artist. And there's still going to be failure in the future. It's a part of it. It seems like there's more momentum now for me than ever. But most of my art career, I mean, well, initially when I got out of art school, I was making working on children's educational video games. So actually, the money I made right out of school, it took me until my I want to say my early 40s to make again.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And then once I
How did you go out of that? They just stopped making educational video games?
That's a crazy story. So
we got time. No rush, bro. Yeah, when we'd have these conversations, kind of like loose, brief conversations before the shop, I could tell, I was like, this guy's had some cool stories, man. He's lived through some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Even just seeing your art. You can't see certain kinds of art and go, that guy's seen some shit. That guy's been through some cool shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I had so I was making video games, and I was freelancing for Hyperlight Wakeboards, making graphics for that wakeboard company, and I had like when I was in art school, I had become a Christian. I'm not one now. I don't know what I am, but I'm not.
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah. But I went deep, and I decided to quit everything. I had a Hyperlight would have hired me.
Quit everything as far as it pertains to your...
I decided to quit the work and not accept a job from Hyperlight, and I joined a group called Surfers for Missions, and I lived in Hawaii for 2 years, and then I lived in Australia for 2 years, and went.
How was that?
It was a trip. Yeah, it was a trip, because I had actually not been a Christian.
Okay.
And then I became one.
On your travels? During your travels?
No, in Seattle. And,
okay.
And then now I'm like, it's kind of this weird whirlwind of an experience, because now I don't identify as that anymore either. So it's kind of it was a weird time in my life, but so I did that for 4 years, and then when I was done with that, I moved to Portland and just started over from scratch, and I worked in an art store. Was
like a gallery or
no, just selling art supplies and stuff like that, and just did art on the side and started doing shows in Portland, and
started putting your stuff out in galleries and
really small ones. Really small, like street art type galleries and things.
Shooting your shot though.
Shooting my shot?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like, I mean, just getting your stuff out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to Was that what you were doing to sustain yourself too, or like a subsidize your income?
Man, anytime I sold a painting, I was over the moon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like, because you're not making much money. I mean, I was practically just working minimum wage.
Yeah.
And then if you sold a painting for $300,
That was pretty badass.
that's badass. Yeah, that's great. So yeah.
Do you, looking back at the art that you were creating at that time, is there bared resemblance? Do you see the beginnings of your style now, or was it already pretty established at this point? Or
I definitely see back then. I've thought about that more recently. I feel like there's things I'm doing now that are kind of more like psychedelic or trippy in nature, and I could see it. I could see the start of it back then.
Yeah,
for sure.
Kind of like the seed.
Yeah, like the seed. Yeah, definitely things like that. And it's interesting that I took this sort of like detour. I'm very easily like inspired, so there's a lot of things I want to do. So like I'll take up something and invest a little bit of time in it, and then
kind of jack of all trades.
But I'm mostly a painter. And I've mostly tried to focus on just being a painter, or using pen and ink or whatever.
Well, for people that aren't listening, his pages on Instagram, if you go and check them out, some of the stuff is ridiculous, man. It's stuff that you'll never forget seeing. The colors and the shapes and the like you said, the psychedelic nature, and kind of hitting the nail on the head, like as far as some of your artwork goes, you know what I mean? And really creating something that looks like you've never seen it before and familiar at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's great.
It's pretty interesting. Yeah, pretty interesting. Why the alter ego? That's something I wanted to ask you about. Spinner Reynolds. That's you, right? That's just another page that you run?
Yeah. So my nickname growing up was Spinner.
Oh, okay.
So even if you look in older yearbooks, it says Spinner Reynolds.
So it's not an alter ego necessarily.
Kind of is. Yeah, it kind of is.
And that's for anyone that wants to check that out. That's at
Absurdamental.
Mental.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah. So the I was intentional too. Yeah, that's funny you pointed that out.
Mental.
Yeah.
Well, I want people to be able to look it up too. And there's a link on your Instagram page for that page as well.
Yeah, which is not the semi-aquatic one. I have three. I have the semi-aquatic. I have Spencer Reynolds Artist and Absurdamental.
Okay.
The Absurdamental.
I didn't know about that page until I started kind of looking into your stuff and checking out your website and doing a little bit more research on you in preparation for our podcast meeting here. But when I was looking back through some of that stuff on the Absurdamental page, dude, there's some trippy shit, some stirring images on there, sir.
Yeah.
They're badass.
Thanks.
Some of them were kind of haunting, man.
Yeah, good. I like that. It's that stuff is. It definitely started as a separate thing from Spencer, but then but now it's starting to merge into the Spencer stuff. So, but now I'm kind of like now the Absurdamental page isn't. I imagine I kind of imagine like probably you as an artist, as a musician, maybe you'd be in multiple bands.
Yeah,
and sometime at certain points, one band is hot and you're doing things with that band, like all the creations coming from that. So you take a break from this other thing. So because Spinner is kind of like, I almost feel like there's always going to be something posted there very infrequently.
Yeah.
But there could be times when that becomes more of what I do. But because
that's mostly ink pen art as opposed to your other pages.
Yeah. Well, so far it's ink art, but I think it'll be more paintings, like the seed and thing. There's a lot of stuff I'm doing now that actually fits more Spinner than it does Spencer, but the audience is at Spencer.
Yeah.
And, I only have like 400 followers on the Spinner account.
Because in your storefront at Semi-Aquatic, you're not selling any merchandise that displays any of the Spencer images or the paintings, right? You're not selling any of that as merchandise yet, or
all the stuff at the store is all the stuff at the store is Spencer.
It's all Spencer.
There are a few things that I do that do have Spinner as a signature on them.
Okay,
Yeah,
nice.
so,
That's badass.
yeah,
I think it's cool, man. I think you could make some really, really interesting some paintings and wall hangings, and you don't. And for people that don't know, you produce. I have a couple of your sweaters and stuff too, and you got hats that you do, and you got the cool cups. I think you got yours over there, but I mean, you're producing a lot of stuff, and that's cool that you're not restricting yourself to one stylized nature of art, or you're not restricting yourself to one media. I mean, that's,
I don't think I can.
It seems like a lot of people get kind of caught up in that, and when you turn into a one-trick pony, you know what I mean?
Right.
A lot of art galleries that I've been to, they're very one-trick pony is what my first thought when I walk in there.
Yeah, I've known a lot of artists that find a lane that works for them and they stick to it, and I can't imagine that stays exciting for them. So I've always just I love Joseph Campbell. He was a mythology expert, and he was the one that coined the slogan "Follow your bliss." And I believe that. I believe you just follow a trail of your inspiration wherever it goes, and just follow that, and you'll stay lit for life. You'll stay vibrant.
Yeah, that's funny. I totally agree, man. Without purpose, we are devoid without purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's never been more true than now, I think, in a lot of people's lives, man. We're kind of forced in this isolation, like self-reflective period as a nation, as a world, as a global community, and kind of gives you some time to reflect on, like, man, what is important to me? What am I doing every day? You're not just going out to the bar every night and distracting yourself. You kind of have some time with yourself to evaluate the things that you're investing your time into.
Yeah, definitely.
I've noticed, I've had a lot of conversations with people lately that are kind of going back and maybe picking dreams back up that they've let go, or pursuing things that they promised themselves they would a long time ago, and they're kind of taking the initiative now in these circumstances. I mean, we all have free time, right?
Yeah.
For the most part. And kind of pursuing those things, so you gotta, Excelsior, right? You always got to try to find the silver lining. In an economic time like right now, when money is tight for a lot of people, as an art gallery, are you finding that there's a silver lining to this time? These are rough times for everybody.
Yeah, it's been a challenging year for me. It was challenging before COVID. I've had some personal things going on. But yeah, I'm trying to find silver lining in it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can tell you right at the moment what that is, but I do think that there is. I'm sure there is.
Without getting biblical, in my experience, it seems to reveal itself in time. You know what I mean? Kind of those silver linings, in hindsight being what it is, 2020 and all. It's kind of easy, I think, after. You gotta have those lows to appreciate the highs, right? And kind of looking back, I think in time, I think we'll have all. I hope for everyone that they've found a silver lining this period of time, or something that's made them realize or be introspective about to their own benefit.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it may be just kind of simple, but I'm really going to appreciate going to a bar, or going to a restaurant,
right,
or just like going to a concert or something, something like that I would, I don't
we all
know.
took for granted a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird to like watch any sort of television now and see crowds of people. It's without masks.
Yeah. No, it's bizarre, man.
It's bizarre.
It truly is bizarre. My wife and I were just talking about that the other night. We always like to go out, and I love the 101. We go out dancing and stuff, and we have a great time. Excuse me. But she was saying that I miss dancing. I want to go out dancing. And it's like you said, little things you took for granted a year ago, man. I mean, they can be taken from you quick.
Totally.
Yeah.
I worry about the restaurants too. I it's, as far as businesses go, I think they're really affected.
Well, shoot, and I can't confirm that, but I know that since it seems like, and I don't know if it's correlation or causation, but the lockdown and the closure of a few restaurants up here are related. I heard some whisperings of a a few restaurants closing. I know we've already had Vista Pub close and a few others, and I had heard from the rumor mill that that was, you know, part of the downturn economically for them. You know, and it's unfortunate. There's a lot of businesses around here that people love and they've been here for 20 years or 30 years, and
I loved the Vista Pub. It was
dude, the Vista Pubs, yeah, they got your personal glasses, your personalized etch glasses hanging from the ceiling, and oh man, yeah, the cheese curds.
So many good times there.
Well, and we did I think we did our first show there, that band that I was in, and the owner was super cool. All the wait staff was always excellent. Everyone's always smiling, very like tight knit. Seemed like a lot of regulars, you know what I mean?
Totally.
A lot of people that were used to seeing each other there and enjoyed each other's company.
Yeah, that tight little bar there was great.
Do you think going into a restaurant business or an art business would be something that you would recommend to somebody going out and venturing into being your own boss and owning your own business?
Either of those.
Well, not specifically those, but going out and doing a job where you're
being my own boss. I like being my own boss, but it's a lot of work. There's so many odds and ends. I think it's definitely a certain type of personality, and I don't even know that I was the right type of personality for it.
Trial by fire and sink or swim.
Totally. Yeah. I'm an artist first and foremost. I'm not a businessman.
No.
I don't think in a business manner. I've been fortunate to survive without having a business mind, and you know, having people around me to help and things. But yeah, I recommend it, but you gotta like, you know, like we were saying earlier, you gotta put in the work. It's a lot of work.
Even just for casual things.
You're always thinking about it. You're always thinking about that. Like, it's always on your mind. And, you know, there is something that's very appealing about a steady paycheck.
Yeah. That's true too.
Yeah.
You think that's what scares people out of pursuing their passions? You think the lack of reliability drives people to more what they view as a stable paycheck or a stable income or a stable job source? It's not so reliant on their own ambition.
I honestly don't know. I don't know why people don't pursue their dreams. I don't know why.
I think it's a lack of self-belief that people are raised with, or a lack of just that self-belief being instilled in them.
Maybe. I mean, my mom was always so encouraging to me, and my dad was the artist. My mom was so encouraging. I never really, like, I just knew. I knew for normal life I'm pretty incompetent. I'm not. I mean, you can give me I can do a job, like, you know, I've delivered pizzas and cooked chicken, and I can, like, a system I can learn and I can do, but I'm not, I was never going to be like wear a suit or, you know, I sit at a desk only to draw, but like even when I was doing video games, sitting in like a dark room, staring at a computer all day.
Not your jam.
No, not at all. So, I wouldn't have lasted in video games for sure.
Does it feel weird to look back on it now and walk away at such a young age from such a sure, at the time, right? Such a sure thing, or such a high amount of assured money every month in your paycheck at that age?
There's definitely
because that was a big company, right? I mean, that was looking at,
like Hyperlight.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, Hyperlight's still a big company, and then the video games there were so many companies in Seattle at the time. So I, you know, it's one of those things. My mind always goes here and there going, what if you would have stayed? But I don't think I would have stayed in Seattle because I'm a coastal person. So I don't know how long that job would have lasted anyways. And then there's part of me that goes, what a weird thing I did to just leave everything and go do this. Like, I just
surf.
Yeah.
And what was it exactly? It's a surf program. You're teaching people how to surf? Or?
No, you're just like being well,
Is it a cult? You can tell me, bro. Was it a cult? Was it a surf cult?
Yeah, I'm not gonna. Yeah, I don't.
I was just kidding, but now you make me think I guessed right.
No, I don't know. I still have a lot of friends that I don't want to say too.
No,
much,
okay, of course.
But it
sounds badass. If there's gonna be a cult that's about surfing, I'm in.
I'm very. I think as far as Christianity stuff goes, I'm just. That's not who I am. And I don't know that it ever was.
Yeah.
I don't know that it ever was. I think I was. I kind of, it's kind of a weird thing. I remember growing up and seeing like the televangelists and things like that on the television, hating it, absolutely hating it.
Yeah.
And
it's so corny.
And so part of me wonders if I have this sometimes sort of like moth the flame mentality where it's like, I mean, I've had that thought about that time going, like staring at this thing that freaks me out.
That thing being religion?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Why did I do it? Like that lingers in my head. Like,
was it just the worst, or did it just you feel like you wasted time because you don't identify?
Well,
with
see,
that
that's the thing.
anymore?
I don't. In my doubtful moments, I go, "Why did I do that?" And in my other moments, I go, "That was my journey. That's just your journey. Like your journey's your journey. Yeah. That's my story." So a part of me totally accepts it, and a part of me is like, "Ugh,"
It wasn't meant to be. It couldn't have been, kind of thing.
What's that?
I said kind of one of those. If it wasn't meant to be, then it couldn't have been. And now being through it, yeah, it's part of your journey.
Yeah, it's part of my journey.
Away.
Yeah, but the funny thing about it, on this side of it, on this side of it, I experienced all that, and I knew, and I found out it wasn't for me, and I think I have a different. I think all that affects, like, it's all in my art, like all that stuff, all the spiritual stuff is in my art. There's a lot of spiritual stuff in my art.
Yeah. And like I said, when I viewed your paintings for the first time, it reminded me of some experiences I had when I was younger, and you hit the nail on the head, man. It's very, very powerful stuff. Some of the images of the sun breaking through the waves and take me instantly back to memories that I had as a kid growing up here on South Beach in Crescent City and down at Garth's, and it definitely it brings you back to a specific moment. Some of your art when I see it, and I really enjoy your wave series and what you do with light play and things like that, and the interesting dynamics of the art that you create. And I think there is something spiritual about it. Like I said, something that's oddly familiar, even though it's the first time I'm seeing these different paintings.
That's perfect. That's a perfect way to describe it. I think once the art's made, I want people to get from it what they get from it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I want to say too much about it. My favorite artist is David Lynch.
Yeah.
He never talks about his films. He never talks about his art. He'll talk about transcendental meditation. He'll talk about other things, but he won't talk about his art. And I love that. I can't quite stick to it that hard, but I love that, because what it does is it creates this, it creates like a universe of thought around what it means.
Exactly.
And that's so fascinating to me, because then the art becomes the audience's as well. They have maybe even more ownership than he does on it, because he's not dwelling on it. He's on to the next project. They're still thinking about that project, and that's beautiful as an artist. If you can create that as an artist, that's the pinnacle to me.
I think a person that always kind of reminded me of that same premise was Don McLean. As a musician, wrote American Pie.
Oh yeah.
And everybody asked him for years and years and years and years and years and years. Yeah, no, you're fine, buddy. Go ahead. What's this mean? What's it mean? We think it means this. We think it means that. He's he's just like, fuck off, go and figure it out yourself. You know what I mean? I think in the last few years, I think he's given some more context to it, but that's after the song's been out for 50 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it's a national darling as far as I'm concerned. That song comes on in the bar and everyone's hammering, everyone's singing along.
Yeah.
4th of July. You know what I mean?
Totally.
But leaving it to where the interpretation is part of the experience. I think that's wise. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because it's easy like to sit there and want to explain a song that you wrote and be like, yeah, I wrote this when I was mad at my girlfriend, and then she told me to fuck off, and then I told her to fuck off herself, and then we got in a big fight, and then this song's about that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go.
Yeah.
And it's easy to try to, and then everyone knows there's no interpretation. You can't apply it to yourself. Like how, keeping it vague, you can't kind of interpret it for yourself or apply it to yourself or mask it to yourself.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think in the past couple of years I've been getting into mythology, and it's kind of the same thing. You're hearing these stories, and everything has this sort of secondary meaning or something. Like there's the surface story that you take it at, but then all the elements have their own meaning, and it could be specific to the culture that it was in or whatever.
Representational.
Yeah. So I just find the sort of the idea of symbolism or metaphor in all of life very interesting. And I, it's funny is I see it more and more everywhere I go. I see it in just daily mundane things. I see, once I think you're on that frequency, you start to realize it's everywhere. Like the metaphors in your life are all over the place.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's fun.
It is fun. I think it's Western storytelling and that kind of interweaving of stories like that.
Yeah.
And regardless of whether you subscribe to the religions or not, the Judeo-Christian influence of kind of like, oh, here's a hero's journey, you know what I mean? The hero's journey kind of thing. I think it's interwoven in so much media that we enjoy, whether it's movies or TV. Like we were talking about earlier, I remember, I think I was watching, I was going to say, I was about to lie to you. I was reading an article. I never read articles. I watched a video on basically how in movies they kind of try to have a vague, mundane lead character sometimes so that you can kind of project yourself onto that individual, like Neo in The Matrix, right? Perfect example.
Yeah.
I'm Keanu Reeves, and now I'm acting, and this is how I act.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's easy to kind of imagine yourself being that person, because besides the badass fighting, they're kind of a blank slate. You know what I mean? And I forgot what I was going to say to wrap that back into what we were talking about, but fuck me. I don't remember.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. No,
I do that about 10 times a day.
I wanted to ask you about the classics. I wanted to ask you about I took a little bit of art. I'm not a super great artist, but I enjoy creating sometimes. Even now in my 30s, I'll have friends of mine that I play music with and stuff, and we'll come over and we'll play music for a few hours. And then sometimes we'll bust out paper and pens or media, and we'll do a little bit of art here and there.
Awesome.
I took 4 years of art in high school, and then I took 1 year of art in college. But I wanted to ask you about, because I have a cursory introduction to the art world. I was forced in those classes to kind of study some of those classic paintings. But what were some classic or well-known artists that kind of spoke to you when you were developing? What were some guys that kind of stuck out? I know for me, Salvador Dali was the big one. When I was in high school and I saw
still love Salvador.
When I saw The Persistence of Memory with the melting clocks, the super famous painting, I remember, and I was like, oh my God, that's trippy as hell. And it's really stuck with me. What were some big influencers for you as far as classic art or paintings that stood out to you at a former or at a developmental stage? What do you remember?
Definitely Dali.
Yeah.
Definitely, like when I was in Eugene, Dali. And I had a poster on my wall of the elephants with the super long legs.
Yeah.
Oh God, I love that. I would just stare at that. I had a few Dali posters. Initially, like I said, it just started with the surf characters from TNC, but then I discovered Rick Griffin, who was like every surf artist says Rick Griffin as an inspiration for good reason. Like the guy was insane, but he also was he made posters for like Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, like
so same timeline.
Yeah, like he started at Surfer Magazine, but then he got big.
Oh, so some of those famous concert poster printouts, he designed those? He did art for them like that?
Yeah, like he started in Surfer Magazine doing doodles and cartoons for them, but then he got known in the 60s for for doing, like concert posters and stuff like that.
Kind of trippy style. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, totally. Like Grateful Dead stuff. And a lot,
like Yellow Submarine-y, kind of like.
Like there's some pretty famous Grateful Dead posters. I'm not really like a Dead fan, but there's Grateful Dead posters that he did. He has a specific style, and I definitely like that was a huge influence. I would say my main influences, like I could list this artist, but it's so initially like it was him and this guy named Chris Lundy. Chris Lundy, as far as my surf stuff goes, those were the guys.
Yeah.
Almost nobody else. I mean, there are other people that I love, like that, and I know all these guys now. Like Phil Roberts and Rick Reitfeld, and I met these guys through the shows now, and it's fun to know these guys that I grew up looking at their art.
That's badass.
But Chris Lundy was
some of your original heroes, kind of thing.
Yeah, Chris Lundy was the man for me. And like in the bathroom I have a Chris Lundy painting. He died a few years ago, but I have a Chris Lundy painting. I bought. He pretty cool story actually. When I was in Portland, I did my first solo show in 2005, and the guy that had the little gallery, he. When I'm setting up my show, we're talking, and we're actually having this conversation. And I said, Chris Lundy is my favorite artist. And, I showed him some of the art. And this guy worked for Nike.
Oh, okay.
And he actually, while he's working at Nike, he meets Chris Lundy. And he's all, dude.
At a work function, or?
Because Chris Lundy did stuff for Nike.
Oh, shit. Badass.
And he's like, you gotta have a show at my gallery. And so he did.
Yeah.
And so
that's where you got to.
That's where I got to meet him.
Yeah.
But the show happened because of the conversation I had with the gallery owner.
He didn't know who Chris Lundy was?
He didn't know. He had no idea who Chris Lundy was.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And so when he met him, he was like, Chris Lundy, there's a painter I know named Chris Lundy. And that was kind of.
Yeah. So then I got to meet Chris, and I spent. He had a little painting. It was I had a little bit of life savings. And I was willing to spend my life savings on the painting, and the
how old are you at this point?
I'm just about 30 or so.
Okay.
And the little painting was $1,000 more than my life savings.
Dang.
That I had. And
baby, if you're watching this at 30 years old, I'm ready to spend our life savings on a painting. I just want you to know. I just got to find the right one. I love you.
And this is it. And I was bummed.
That's so crazy. What were you thinking?
What? Okay, my life savings was not a lot.
Oh, okay.
But
even
but that's what I am.
Yeah.
And that was my hero. Like I live by my, like me.
Did you buy it at the show?
Me dropping everything and traveling to different countries. That's I live like that. And yeah, so I didn't have enough money for the piece. The gallery owner knew how much I liked Chris Lundy. He took his commission off of the piece so I could have it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I could, That's
gangster.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was so cool of them. And
was this guy a friend of yours, or he's the acquaintance, right? Or
he was the gallery owner. He was sort of a friend, yeah. But yeah, so back to your original question.
Sorry.
I had to tell that story.
That's awesome, man.
But so
that's a ballsy move.
Yeah, but it's like I don't regret it either.
No, you can't, right? I mean,
and so those two guys are, I could list a lot of artists, because I'm very influenced. While I was in Seattle, after art school, in my spare time, I was taking classes learning Russian Impressionist painting from Henry Stinson, who's another one of my heroes. And
you were learning directly from him?
Yeah, I was learning from he was one of the teachers at the Art Institute, and he was a phenomenal figure drawing teacher and a phenomenal painter. and he's on Instagram. You can find him. But so then I got into impressionist painting. So I got into like Sargent and Nikolai Fetchin and all the lots. But I would say my main influences on my art are music and David Lynch and Stanley Kubrick, which is,
I think we talked about this.
Oh, did we?
In the shop? Yeah. Dave, we were talking about David Lynch, and then you were talking about Stanley Kubrick. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
and his old buddy, Hal.
Yeah, his old buddy Hal.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, those are my like that. Like I feel like I get more from music and those two filmmakers than I do from almost any visual art.
Yeah, you kind of. I know I go. I'm a big Tarantino guy.
Yeah,
I really enjoy Quentin Tarantino's movies. I always have. I blame my father for letting me watch Pulp Fiction. I think when I was at a very young age.
Yeah,
and that's something that I go back and I'll binge watch. I'll go back and I'll watch all the Tarantino movies in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then I won't watch any for a year or two, and then I'll watch them all again. Is that you kind of find yourself like that with Kubrick films, or you just constantly have them on?
Kubrick and I not so much anymore. I kind of save it now. I save, I own a lot of David Lynch's movies. I need to buy all the Stanley Kubrick ones, but there's a side story there too. I saw The Shining at far too young an age.
Yeah.
And that movie stuck with, like, that movie terrified me.
Yeah.
But as a kid, there's so many question marks in that movie going, what the fuck was that about? and then now people
How old were you when you saw The Shining?
Oh my gosh. I was way too young. I saw it at a drive-in in Cave Junction.
Oh my god, that's the worst place to see a scary movie. Oh fuck.
And then we went back to our camp. I just remember being terrified, and I think my mom would like cover my eyes for some of the scenes.
Yeah.
But I could see it through her fingers. It's like the twins in that movie.
Oh man.
To this day I probably get goosebumps from seeing the twins on that movie. But there's so many layers to Stanley Kubrick. He would not he didn't make a lot of movies. And if you know anything about him and the amount of research he put into each movie, I mean, he would put years of research into each movie.
Well, I mean, he's one of the most infamous directors for putting like all these crazy layers of meta Easter eggs and things in his movies. And,
totally.
I mean, it's like you said, the amount of preparation to get all that stuff in there, and then the videos I've seen where people pour through that movie and point out all the idiosyncrasies and the patterns of the tiles on the floor, the numerology throughout the movie, and what this symbolizes and what that. Yeah. Like, holy shit, man. Yeah. You guys put a lot of fucking thought. I think Quentin Tarantino's on a lower level. I think in Pulp Fiction all the clocks are set to 420. I think that was his big.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff in Tarantino movies too. I'm not as familiar. Like, I've seen a lot of Tarantino, but I'm not as familiar. But I think he's definitely like on that sort of genius level, though, for sure.
I don't know. Yeah, I love Quentin Tarantino probably more than any other director. I don't know if he's on any genius level or anything.
I think he is. I think
he's the funniest motherfucker, dude. Like, yeah. I watched some of his interviews, and he's just like the funniest motherfucker. Some of the stuff, like people asking questions he doesn't want to answer, like, what do you think about your influence of gun violence on the United States? I don't give a fuck. He's all, I've talked about this a million times. Why do you keep lying? And he just tells it, he calls a spade,
I love that.
And
love it.
Yeah, it's hilarious to me because it's not that I think he's so prolific or brilliant. And I mean, he is, obviously. He's created movies that have grossed billions of dollars, I'm sure. But he's just is on a human being level, on just a personality level, from the stuff that you can kind of see and gather of him. He's just such a fucking nerd. He's like a big nerd.
He's a total nerd.
Hilarious. Yeah.
But he has so much knowledge of movies.
But he can make such badass movies.
Yeah, and the lane of movies that he likes are interesting too.
Oh, dude, he creates my favorite movies of all time. I mean, yeah.
But just even the movies that he likes,
Oh yeah.
Like he's into some really obscure.
Some of the samurai, the old samurai genre of films, I think, that are really stylized and kind of
Kurosawa.
Yeah, Kurosawa films. I mean, I know those inspired Kill Bill and some of the footage and the way that he cuts the scenes and like having Dutch angles on certain scenes. I know he's trying to pay homage to certain genres of film and westerns and things
Yeah.
like that, and I love it, man. When I was watching Django Unchained and he had the rap music playing in the background during the time when it would usually be, Happy Trails or some bullshit like that, and he's creating a spectacle. It's something that you haven't seen before, but it really draws you in and compels you to watch it and rewatch it and pick the things out and appreciate the non-standard format that he takes when he's making a movie. And I think that's kind of the same premise. Like when something has a high resale value, or not a resale value, a high rewatch value. Like if there's a clip or a movie or a TV show that I can watch again and again and again because I get something different from it each time, I feel like that's something that you've accomplished too in your art, and that people in different medias across the board have been able to master a certain level of constant success at is creating things with a high level of uh, re-engagement. They have a high value for re-engagement, whether it's a material good like a football, all the best footballs, you can use them again and again and again. All the best. I find myself looking at your prints that I have upstairs all the time. I'll be sitting there with a cup of coffee in the morning. My cats are fucking around and scratching my ankles, and I kind of walk over and I just look at them. I've looked at them a million times, but every time I look at it, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't see that before. The way that light plays is kind of cooler. That when something has uh, a value to it that you can't even describe, where you get a feeling inside that you need to repeat the action of just looking at something or enjoying something, whether it's a movie or listening to a song. I'll go through phases where I'll put a song on a million times. I'll listen to it till I'm fucking sick of it, and then I won't listen to it again for years. Yeah. But I mean, what's the secret to creating something like that? What's the secret to through those various types of media? What do you think it is in your experience?
Well, I think generally, I think for me it's, and I've heard a lot of artists say this, is being an antenna for like receiving, because I don't know that I think the ideas that come to me aren't necessarily original, but they then filter through how however they come out. I don't have a vision for what I'm going to do. I paint, except for the landscapes. But even in the landscapes, there is improvisation. There's abstract and surreal elements that pop up. But the other stuff that I do that is completely out of my head, all I'm trying to do is get my thoughts out of the way of ideas, not shooting down ideas, like not I'm just trying to allow something pure to come through. And my theory is, if I can allow that pure thing to come through, even if it's this crazy looking scene, that's going to draw you in.
Yeah.
Because what I'm connecting with is, it's universal.
It's like a pure expression.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think it goes beyond language too. I think somebody from another country who doesn't speak English can look at my painting.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. It's not constrained by those definitions. You know what I mean? It's not. It's something that could speak, to all people, especially. You know what I mean? I know.
Yeah.
You'll hear songs sometimes on the radio or on the computer, and it'll be in another language, and I don't fucking speak French, but
totally.
That song, I'm tapping my toe and I'm humming along. And the chorus goes like this. I'm
the same, man. Yeah. I can feel the passion of a song in a different language, and I feel like I can get the gist of what it's about.
Do you think that earnest quality is the intangible common thread among success for these different medias at these high levels?
Say that again.
Do you think that earnest quality of producing something that you really actually gave it your all into, or really let yourself be an antenna or pure expression, do you think that is the common thread between success at these higher levels of performance, whether it's mixed martial arts or whether it's dancing or whether it's painting or whether it's music? Do you think that's something that is an intangible common thread between success at those highest levels of these different medias? It seems like people at a certain level of achievement, or people at a certain level of proficiency in forms that we call art, have a passion that creates this earnest product out of them, whether it's physical performance or whether it's a good, like a painting or a meal, you know, if you're a chef. Do you think that there's something to that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's what your measure of success is, because
3 hots a cot, rent paid. I mean, doing something you love, right?
yeah, totally.
The way you watching you speak about it, I mean, I can tell it really matters to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's not just something you're doing to get by.
yeah, I mean, because you see people succeed, like you're saying earlier, doing things that they find a formula and they just kind of hit that. And you know, like if you look at it with music, you see a lot of music that's just like like a lot of pop music. I'm getting old, but a lot of pop music I can't really get into.
Yeah.
But they understand a formula. So that's what I say. It's like it really depends on what your idea of success is, and I've constantly had to readjust that in my head because I'll see people like skyrocket past me, people that I know, and you're just like, whoa, how, you know, and I realized my path is this slow, steady growth. It's not um and as I've gotten older, I've even wondered, did I ever even really want to be that known? You know, like I'm an introvert. I don't know if I've really wanted to be known.
I think it's a wanting to be known, or I mean, you distribute your paintings. Do you take solace in the fact that people like me really enjoy your work and
Yes.
really get something from it?
Yes.
Do you think that's what one of the things that draws you to produce beyond just self-expression?
Yeah, there's definitely the back and forth between you and the people. That's huge. And I've actually grown to appreciate that. I don't know that I appreciate. I think I almost felt that as annoying at the beginning, but now that I've had my shop for 5 years, the conversations I've had in there and the idea that I can inspire somebody, that means a lot to me. That means so much. It means so much that I, you know, like that I'm giving, that I'm creating something positive and putting it out in the world. Even if a painting is dark, I look at that as cathartic and still a good thing. You know, I have such a different view now of art, any sort of like expression, you know, because some people definitely, like when I was a Christian, it was like, that's evil, you know.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's evil. I think your idea of it is evil. You're empowering it, but
I think haunting images, man, they kind of scare people sometimes.
I love
that Venus or
dark.
Saturn consuming his child, or Saturn consuming his sons.
I love it. I love darkness now. Like I've embraced my shadow self and like or what I know what I know of my shadow.
Some of the stuff on that spinner page, right? I mean, is that some more of the kind of self-expressive, deeper stuff that you're kind of pulling out?
Maybe. I'm not really scared to put it one place or another. I am this weird combination of hope and depression and I don't know, man. Like I don't know if I'm bipolar. I don't know what I am, but I feel highs and I feel lows. And the only way that I feel like the only way I'm going to get through this is through disciplines and my passions. I think that's the only way I'm getting through this life.
Yeah. Good.
Otherwise,
hey man, some people don't know.
Yeah.
Some people don't have a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, to have that, I mean, that's something to behold, you know what I mean? And take care for. That's I think that's what's inspiring about people that you meet that have gone out and they chased something that they want to do and they've pursued it with fever and gotten success. I mean, you to the point that you run your own shop. You know what I mean? You're producing your own art exclusively. I don't see anybody else's paintings hanging up in there. I see people going in and out of there at all times of the year. I mean, that's awesome for you. And I think when people see someone doing something that they know that person enjoys and it's bringing them a sustainable lifestyle, we'll call that the measure for success. It's really inspiring, man. And it makes people take a second look at their life and go, why am I not pursuing something that I'm passionate about? Yeah. Why am I not pursuing something that I want to take hold of and materialize into my life? Why am I not at that level of happiness? Because it's easy for a lot of people, I think, to go, oh man, that guy's fuck that guy. That guy's got an art gallery, motherfucker.
Totally, totally. And I get it. I get it.
I do too. And I can understand it, but it doesn't mean I want to endorse it either. Because it's important, man. It's important to get after it, dude. What are you doing? This is clock's ticking. You know? This is it.
And one thing I've realized, going deep into the business of art is, when people are looking at me and admiring that I'm making a living at it, there are, I have something that makes money, and I have other things that don't make as much money, and I'm always trying to steer my audiences where I want them to go. But the freedom of not making a living as an artist is you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Also true.
And so
live that beautiful artist.
So life. So success is totally personal. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, and that's what I encourage people that aren't making a living as artists. It's like, you can just paint whatever you want. Yeah. My landscapes keep the gallery open, but I'm always trying to guide the audience to different places too. I want them to like my trippy art, and that's building momentum.
Yeah.
But
getting that cross exposure.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm putting surreal elements in the landscapes. Yeah. And I want people to think, what's that about? I want them to consider it.
Well, it is. It's intriguing. It draws you in. It makes you invested into it because you do have it piques of curiosity. I think in humans going like, "Whoa, this isn't.
What's that about?
This is unusual. I haven't seen this. What is it?" And they take notice, man. It's in our nature.
And then you.
Because it is truly original. I've really never. I mean, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you haven't checked out Spencer's Instagram, both pages, and then the gallery page as well. I mean, you've never seen anything like it. I guarantee it. Because I've seen a lot of art and I've never seen anything like it. It's badass.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I encourage everybody. I go to Brookings Orthodontist office right there, and or the dental office, right off the main drag, right off the 101, and they have one of your big paintings in there of the natural bridges. What's it called? The specific
3-hour tour.
3-hour tour. Yeah. And when you go in and you see someone's work on display like that, it's a local artist, you're like, oh yeah, and you want to tell the old lady sitting there waiting for a denture fitting next to you, like, yeah, I got some of that guy's prints in my house, no big deal. It's hanging on the wall today, so it's not, you know what I mean? It's cool to see people representing your art in this area because it's kind of stylized. I think it speaks about this area too. You know what I mean? You see certain art and you think of certain areas. You see Renaissance art, you think of Italy. You see, and I think. In my mind, that art kind of embodies something about this area and this culture in Pacific Northwest and that border life that we live right here between Humboldt and Eugene or Medford Grants Pass. This this area has something. There's something about your artwork that familiarly expresses an intangible sentiment about this area and the culture.
And I love that. Yeah, I love that. I love the support. I from locals, from tourists, and that is amazing. And just like what you said, that it's humbling to be like people. People want what I do. Kind of. When somebody says that my art captures the area, I'm like, does it really? Like that blows my mind.
It's not just the area though, because it's a physical representation of it, but it's a it's something else about this area. You know what I mean? It's a cultural thing,
Yeah.
and it speaks volumes. It's pretty badass.
Thanks, man.
No, seriously. Do you worry about the way that your art's perceived by your people consuming it, by people checking into your store and seeing what you got? When you create your art, is there any thought at that point in the process about the consumer, essentially?
No, not really.
It's just all straight creative. What's in you?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not really. I'm not really. I like painting the landscapes. They're they're sort of a structure for me that I can. I like to. I actually like to create in a structure sometimes. You think like if you relate it to music, like a band like the White Stripes, where they had simple elements. It was like vocals, guitar, and drums. They had a structure, but man, did they create good stuff.
Yeah.
And they even repeated that in what black, white, and red. It was just like everything was about a box.
Package.
How can you create in this box? So landscape painting gives me a box, and I have to figure out what my voice is through that box. When I do my other stuff doesn't have those parameters, I get pretty loosey goosey, and
yeah,
sometimes it's good, sometimes it's horrible in my mind. But
I'm guessing you only share the good stuff on your Instagram page, because everything I saw on there is pretty fucking.
I share most
badass.
everything.
Yeah.
Like I like, I love jazz too, and I love the idea of like we always put rock musicians on a pedestal, but you think of like jazz musicians back in the day who would improvise live in front of people,
Like Cab Calloway type motherfuckers.
Yeah, I'm a big Miles Davis fan. Like I like his trippier stuff.
Yeah, like
but like you watch that stuff on YouTube. It's all on YouTube now, and you watch these concerts, and there's a structure, there's a loose structure, but there's so much like room to play inside of that structure. But the idea that you just improvise on a stage in front of people, let go of the result and just let it be. I embrace that a lot with my art. I embrace. It could appear that in my mind that I'm falling on my face with a certain piece of art. Other people don't see it that way. Maybe some artists do. I have no idea. But just the idea of being that vulnerable as an artist is that's important to me. To like, because like, again, you're trying to tie it back to feeling, someone looking at something and getting something from your painting.
Yeah.
If I'm vulnerable, I think that's that humanity, even if it's like a total abstraction.
Yeah.
I think that's the humanity that comes through. Maybe.
No, I agree, man. That kind of comes back like what I was talking about, that intangible honesty quality.
Mm-hmm.
Just having something that you've created that's just purely expression. I'm glad to hear you say that you don't think about the consumer during the creative process, because I think that's something that I've seen with music stifle a lot of artists. They're trying to pander too much, like you said, and they have big giant record companies that know a formula, and they go, oh, we're going to do between 80 and 120 beats per minute, and we're going to have lyrics that are like this, and we're going to have a female vocalist, and we're going to sing about these archetypes, we're going to sing about the cool guy or the love story, or and they create formulaic bullshit that is just cotton candy, and it's like, oh, it's sweet to listen to, it's fun, but there's no substance there, there's nothing really deeper, there's no tertiary layer after the beat and the lyrics. It's like, oh, that's it, there's nothing to perceive here.
And I think if any time I'm thinking about the audience, it's maybe that I've made an object too representational, and therefore I'm not taking them deep enough.
Yeah.
I want them to be a little challenged. I don't really want things to be too easy for them. Landscapes, that's like candy. You
Yeah.
know, that's you can appreciate the landscapes. That's no dig on landscapes or landscape painters. I have a deep part of my heart that loves that.
Well,
But
shoot, you dedicate enough of your time to it.
yeah,
But I think those psychedelic aspects of it are what kind of give it, like we were talking about, really that high rewatch value or that high reconsumption value for your product. Because even you're calling them cotton candy, but is me as somebody that has more than the average person's introduction to art. I go back and I've had those paintings for probably a year and a half. Not that I'm not frequenting your shop more, but
yeah. No,
I find myself a lot really indulging in them.
yeah, it's great.
And your other stuff that I've just now been exposed to through your Absurd Eye Mental Instagram account. I've been scrolling through that and I'll sit and I'll look at stuff. My wife comes over, she goes, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm looking at this painting." She's all, "You haven't swiped or done anything. I've been watching you." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm not done looking at it." You know what
That's
I mean?
awesome.
Well, yeah, it is. It's awesome that you've created that kind of product. Do you worry about social media and giving away your product too freely? Because there's something really cool about having your paintings hanging up in the in the living room and having people come in and appreciate them as part of the decor of my home. But as far as like when you get done painting for however long it takes you to usually finish a piece and then you produce it and then you take a picture of it and you post it on social media, do you feel like, oh, I've just given it away? Do you ever get that kind of feeling?
No, it's low resolution, and I look at it as a medium in and of itself. I'm always trying to grow my audience, but I'm not obsessed with how to grow your audience, because there's you can look on the internet and you can see how to grow an audience, and I don't really follow those I skirt the idea of those formulas, but I don't follow them to the T, like hashtags or posting a certain time of day or whatever. Like, yeah, okay. Generally speaking, I'll but I kind of look at social media as another medium. That's the only way I can embrace it, because I'm not interested. Like, I'm not so interested in like if you're purely focused on growth, you can get discouraged very fast, because
100%.
because you can see someone shake their booty on Instagram and get 1 million followers, or whatever.
But that doesn't mean you're gonna get a ring on your finger.
So it's like
your measure of success. Like we talked about.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm very happy with, like, if as far as a social media standpoint, I have a very meager following, but I feel like it's come to me in a very honest way, and I'm happy for that. And I use social media because it does make me money. Like like I do sell paintings through
your online store.
Through the online store, yeah.
Artandsurf.com, right?
Yeah, and just through, like, showing progress in paintings being made. I only have 2 originals in my gallery right now. You know? And that's been that way for a while. And
it's badass, though.
Yeah, it's because the originals are usually spoken for before they're even sold. And that's partly due to social media. So social media is this thing that I don't like. I don't like what it's done in the world.
No.
But it's here and I'm using it. I'm not saying I do scroll through it, and I look at all the things I'm not supposed to, probably shouldn't be looking.
Do you think there's a point where social media will sow social returns as far as community building and things like that? Do you think it's already done that?
I sure hope so.
I feel like to a point it's done that, because I know that when I was doing shows with the band, we would use it to promote gigs, and you kind of bring local musicians together. There's a page called Del Norte Musicians where people can go on there and go, oh, I play trombone, and the guy goes, oh, I play saxophone. Hey, let's get together and jam.
Awesome.
To where people bring each other together, but it does seem like it's a big dividing source for a lot of people, and I think that's what makes platforms like Instagram nice, because they're less politicized, it seems like, and they're less controversial. They're more kind of like, especially for someone who's producing a product of art, it's easy to put a clip of your song on there, or it's easy to put a snapshot of your painting. Like you said, it's lower resolution. You're getting it at a lower quality, but you're still able to kind of patronize you in a way and give you a like and show your art support or give it a share and expose people to your name.
Yeah.
Do you find that social media as a media in its own, like acrylic painting or chalk work, is something that you've had to master over time? Because you have a pretty nice social media presence. I mean, you run 3 accounts. Your shop is very well represented on your website. Is that stuff that you've managed yourself? Do you outsource that? Did you build your website? Has that been a hard media to come into and master as an artist?
So initially, I've had that website since I've had it for so long. I mean, you can tell by the address I got at artandsurf.com. Like that would probably be an expensive address.
Yeah.
But initially I was, for years, I was running the website. And now Stacy's running the website. And we have
the co-owner of the shop.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have another person, doing the, semi-aquatic account. I do my Absurdimental, and I do my personal Instagram and Facebook account. But yeah, like what you're saying, I think every form of communication is a neutral platform, and I think people make it good and bad.
Yeah, like any tool, right?
I think that's been the way since I first started writing things down.
You can hit yourself in the hand with a hammer, or you can use it to build a house.
Yeah, I think I think the way that we communicate is always a neutral thing, and we're new to social media, and I think it freaks people out, and I think
100%.
We're in a really weird time. It's just weird to watch.
It can frenzy people so effectively.
And
it's nuts. It's nuts to watch people get frenzied via social media sources, whatever pages they follow, and things because you can't see anything you don't want to see for the most part.
Yeah. On
social media, so it's things you willingly expose yourself to that work people up, myself included, sometimes. Yeah. Throughout the day, and it's just a funny. It's a funny premise, I think, is like a vague idea. It's a personality of a good social media is a funny idea. It's like, this is where I show you pictures of myself.
Yeah.
Do you like them?
I know. It's so weird. It's so weird.
It's so cheesy as hell.
It's really weird when you go to someone's page and it's all selfies. Like that, that trips me out.
What I've tried to use it for so far is promoting music stuff that I've done, promoting MMA stuff that I used to do, and competition grappling, and because eventually, I'd like to seek some sponsorships, whether it's for this podcast, whether it's for music, whether it's for grappling. But what you've been able to do with it beyond promoting your brand and driving business to your storefront, obviously, and your website as well, is let people in on the creative process. That's something that's been interesting about keeping up over the last few years that I've been a fan of yours as an artist. On your creative process, because you have videos, and it's interesting. You have your cane hanging over the top of your canvas, and then you're drawing, and it's watching these ideas that you have in your mind come to fruition. And they're time-lapse videos where you get to see respectable amounts of progress made on these paintings and kind of see how that comes into being. Do you think letting your I don't want to blow up your ego here, but your fan base, you think letting people that follow your pages and watch you produce art, like to watch you create, is that something you found positive response to? Because I enjoy it. I think it's cool, man. It's like it's the more interesting version of watching someone write a song, right? Sitting here and watching me scribble in my journal with da 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 fuck. Yeah. That'd be boring. But watching you create your paintings is really interesting, man. Your methodologies and the strokes you take and things like that. It's pretty badass.
Yeah, I don't think about the audience as far as what I'm creating, but I do think about the audience in terms of how it's presented on Instagram and the social medias. I sort of look at the numbers as far as if people like time lapse or if they like me to paint slow or whatever they like. I am curious on what they want to see from me and what that's sort of a different subject matter than what I create. I do want I do want I do want, you know, there's a part of me that wants to understand the medium of social media and utilize it to its best interest. With that said, I will also not stick to that. You know, I'll
You'll waver.
If I find something that inspires me and I want to do and it gets 5 likes, so be it. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's just a,
You're not doing it for response, but if you can do something in the interim, like that's the cool thing about, you're not branding yourself to anybody by putting on videos of you painting. You're just recording the process, which is cool because, again, it's an honest expression. You're not staging anything up. You're just documenting.
Yeah,
and that's interesting.
And I really wish I was a fast painter, because I see fast painters, and they can grow an audience pretty fast. And I'm a slow painter. I'm very slow. I'm very methodical.
But you can't do what you do fast.
I just am what I am.
Impossible.
I am what I am.
Yeah.
And so I don't beat myself up. I see people who can paint fast, and you know, like they can sell a lot of paintings and stuff, and I paint slow, and is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's I can't. I am who I am, and what I am is what I am. You know, like however big I am or small. You know, taking this back to music, you know, I was always like, oh, you know, because I think initially I wanted to be this like really popular artist.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you look at,
I'm going to be Salvador Dali.
Well, you look at
the acid and pop out of an egg, and
yeah. But I totally. But see, even him, that was fucking cool. You know?
Yeah, it's badass.
But I just, you know, there's certain
piece of Americana.
There's certain,
or not Americana, but yeah.
There's certain artists that you know, like I always look at music, because you look at. So I'm old, so I'm like, well, do I want to be a Britney Spears, or do I want to be a Fugazi? You know, and I'm like, I'm a Fugazi, or I'm a Frank Zappa, or, you know, like I'm not to even put myself on the level of those people, but the artist,
you're not creating for consumption.
But the musicians I like aren't usually, they have their core followers, but they're not
sellouts.
Well, I don't even know if they're trying or not trying to be. They're just not. They just can't do that. I can't. I don't know that I can sell out. I don't know that I'm capable of selling out. You know, because I will burn out before I sell out. You know, like if I see a lane that, like, the only thing that the closest thing that you could call selling out to me is painting landscapes, and I like to paint them. So if I like to paint them, then I'm not selling. You know, if you like to do something, you know, even if you're a pop star and you like to make pop songs, and you love it, you come to work like zippity doodah every day, you're not selling out. Like, I don't care what anybody says about that. Like, you're not selling out. Maybe, you know, maybe Britney Spears wasn't selling out. I don't know. I don't know her. You know, I don't know these. I don't know.
She wasn't. Just leave her alone.
I know she seems a little troubled.
Oh no, yeah. But it's funny because like you said, it's who are we to say?
Yeah.
Who are we to judge? And that's what I respect, man, because you can tell that's palpable when you see your art. You can tell that you're doing something honest. You can tell you're doing something original, and you can tell you're doing something special. And I think that's what's drawn you, you know, the audience you have at the, you know, granted, like you said, you've watched people around you kind of skyrocket off, but it only takes a spark, man. And I think that you're doing something really interesting and unique. You have paintings that you've done. You do sketches. I've seen you do pencil work. I've seen you do ink pen work. Do you think there's any medium out there that you would I mean, you're making fun of yourself, kind of being self-deprecating and calling yourself old, but do you think that over the rest of what I'm sure will be a long, artistic, beautiful career, you have any form of media that you would restrict yourself from? Can we Will you do my sleeve, bro? Will you do a cover up of my cover up?
I never do tattoos.
Would you restrict yourself from the idea of one day pursuing different mediums like that? You think that's something that you would ever find yourself interested in?
Well, I've already restricted myself from so many, and tattoos being one of them. I get a lot of requests for tattoos, for me to design a tattoo.
But you're pretty healthy. You got at least 40 years left. Don't turn off any any doors.
I for some reason.
But I mean anything, videos, video media. I mean.
Oh, I dabble in trying to learn video.
Graphic design. Now that you have a better graphic.
Well, I make from time to time I do make logos, and I do make them for the shop, and there is an aspect of that I enjoy. I always feel like people are a little.
If you give me a good quote, buddy, I'll let you make the logo for my podcast.
Nice.
I have a lot of ideas.
I think my most successful logo graphic design thing was probably Checo Brewing. I like.
Oh, you did Checo Brewings?
Yeah, I did that, and I'm really proud of that logo. But generally speaking, I don't want to do logos, and I don't do graphic design, but I do enjoy making graphics, t-shirts and all that stuff. That, like part of the idea of the shop too was having a place where I could sell clothes, which brings it all the way back to the beginning of what inspired me in the first place, which was clothes. The designs on t-shirts.
Yeah, the airbrush t-shirts.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a part of my initial dream as a kid being fulfilled. Is making t-shirts for my shop.
Well, the stuff's cool too. It's not like I've been to art galleries before, and I'm not anybody to criticize any artist that owns his own gallery, but I remember when I was younger, an artist named Mark Goddard, my family and we went to Key West, Florida, and he had an art gallery down there, and his stuff was kind of stylized. It was a lot of humanized, like playing cards and casino poker chips and martinis with olives in a martini with like long ladies' legs like running around the brim, and all of this stuff was kind of like humanized inanimate objects with a casino theme, but he put it on shirts and it kind of just came out, and that might be some people's style, some Harley riding kind of like, I don't even know, some Tom Sheets kind of motherfucker.
Tom under the bus.
Shout out to Tom. Dude, I love Tom to death.
I know, he's cool.
He's coming on here again to film here in a few days, I hope. But they, that didn't really speak to me as an individual, and maybe that's because that's not my scene or my vibe, but the clothes that you produce, man, are neat. Like, I have a few of your hats, and with the wave design pattern across the front of the hat and the trucker style, and I have some of your cups and stuff, and it's I always think back to the Fight Club line where Edward Norton's picking furniture out of IKEA, and he goes, "Which coffee table represents me? Is it the yin yang coffee table? Who am I?" And it's like, yeah, man, some of your stuff, it's like, yeah, this is I own these kind of coffee cups. I'm the guy that has these kind of coffee cups, and because it speaks to you. It's like, if I'm gonna drink a fucking cup of coffee every day and I have to drink it out of the same cup every fucking day, what cup do I want to look at? I want to look at a cool cup. Yeah, it makes me think about different shit than what I normally think about, than a plain white bullshit Walmart fucking coffee cup. Someone that took the time to decorate it with an interesting image that they created of their own volition. Yeah, and, you know what I mean? I think it's a first world privilege that we have, obviously, living in America, to be able to buy the color, let alone the personally artistically designed coffee cup that you want, or sweater, or piece of jewelry, or coaster, or whatever item. I mean, you make a lot of fucking shit at your shop, and it's all badass. Thanks. And but to have the ability to enhance your life in kind of secondary and tertiary ways with like little aesthetic things that make you kind of like happy when you see, like, this is my favorite cup, and that's worth the investment to me over the course of a lifetime. I'm at a point now at 30 years old where, luckily with my job, I'm able to afford those luxuries and things like that. But when you find someone that creates goods that you're willing to spend your hard-earned money on, that's cool, especially when they're a local person, especially when they're personable, especially when they make themselves available to their clientele. You go into the art shop, you're in there, you're painting. Having, every time I've been in there, having been the person that's running the front desk, Do you find it interesting to connect with a lot of people that relate to your art? Do you find that you have a lot in common with the individuals that uh, draw themselves to what you're creating?
It's a diverse group that come. I mean, it's a broad spectrum of people that come into the gallery, and I can't say that I relate to all of them. I relate to some of them, but I've always hoped and looked at what I do as a bridge. I'm a I'm a person that believes in, strives for balance, and um,
I'm a Libra. I get it.
I am too. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, are you?
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
And I I I I get excited when
Not that that means anything.
I think it does. I don't know a lot about it, but I think it does.
I think if you grew up reading your horoscope, it does.
I didn't, but I still have that
yeah?
nature. I
Okay.
still have that balanced nature in me that really wants and desires balance. And I look at what I do as building bridges. And
I do too, but I've also read my horoscope since I was 5 years old in the
Oh,
Daily
really?
Triplicate. Yeah. I remember being a small kid and read my horoscope.
yeah,
And I remember wondering at a young age, I'm like, am I this way because I'm this way, or am I this way because my horoscope tells me today you'll be seeking balance?
see, the reason I feel like it's just the nature is because I've never read horoscopes. I've never invested anything in it, but my friends that do, they look at me and they go, "Oh yeah," like, and then I start to see it in myself, and the balance thing. Like I do want I want to reach. I'm very like middle. I'm not right or left. I'm middle, and I I want people to meet in the
Work
middle.
together.
Yeah, like that we're stronger together than we are separated. You know.
I've had a theory, and I'd be curious to pose this to you and see what you think. And feel free to call bullshit. I'm. This is one of obviously this is the longest conversation that you and I have ever had, and I invited you on here because I think we could have an interesting conversation. But feel free to tell me I'm stupid if you think so. But I've I've had a theory that rather than uh, something extraordinary or something supernatural causing the phenomena of horoscopes, like I've mostly meditated on the idea of like a Libra, right? Fall time, harvest, things are coming together. You better be prepared for the winter. We're balancing things out. Everyone's coalescing as a community in like primitive times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right before the winter would
Yep.
come, when we would be born, when we're forming in those primary years. Some of the first actions that we're seeing are the coalescing of communities on an internal human level. Do you think that's something that plays influence on the astrological signs?
Yeah, I
That's just a fleeting thought.
No,
That's
I-
totally off topic and
no.
off tangent, but
no, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, and personally, I think it's hard to separate in my mind. I think the reason I like mythology and all that is because I want to I don't know where the mystical ends and the practical begins. You
Yeah.
know, so exactly what you just said. I don't know.
I've seen enough in my life to believe in something, but I've also seen enough to know that I don't know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, right. Like it could be that that you find the mystical through the practical. You know, like
Fair.
so what you just said is uh, I don't know. I sense there's something there. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like people want to put all kinds
That's the
of
best part.
people want to put all kinds of labels on it, and I don't think it wants labels.
Yeah.
Um,
What's that old quote? It's one of my fucking favorite quotes. I don't want to mess it up. Silence is the original language of the Lord. Everything else is a poor interpretation.
yeah, that's great.
It's one of my favorite
It's
quotes.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm gonna
So
get
I
tattooed on my
don't
neck.
I think what you just said, I think there's an intertwining of the mystical and the I don't know where one's more important than the other.
No, neither do I.
You know,
I have no idea.
Yeah, but I don't think that they're.
It's not for us to say though, is it? Is a human? Is it?
It's fun to speculate.
Is an ant in the pile? Is it for us to? No, it is, and those are the funnest conversations.
Yeah.
The for traditionally for me the 3 a.m. conversations with close friends, they're extremely stimulating, extremely thought provoking, intriguing conversations to have. But it seems that when you try to box it in, it gets squirrely. It doesn't want to be boxed in. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you try to articulate it into words,
it does.
Yeah.
I've been meditating for about 4 years, and every time I'm at the point of going, oh, it's working, I slide out of it.
Yeah.
Like when you get that sense, when my eyes are closed and I get this sense that my thoughts aren't ruling me.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden my thoughts are ruling it. Like it's this weird spot of neutrality.
What is your definition personally for meditation?
I don't know that I have a very specific definition of it, because I do believe.
Well, when you speak about the meditation you're participating in, are you sitting in a room with your legs crossed and your arms out? Are you painting? Are you?
Well, so initially,
the meditation you're speaking to.
Initially, I mean, I got into it because of David Lynch. He's into transcendental meditation, and I was home alone one Christmas, and I was like, I'm gonna start meditating. And I didn't know how to do it. I still don't know if I'm doing it right, but I just started doing it.
Means.
Yeah, I just started closing my eyes, and the goal for me was to clear my mind, and it's very hard when you have that in your head to clear your mind.
Yeah.
So
telling yourself to relax.
Yeah. So meditation to me is many, many, many things, and it's different. I mean, I think people can meditate reading. I think they can. There's many ways to meditate. I just feel, for me personally, I wanted something for my brain to turn off, and so different ways I've gotten to that state. I mean, initially when I first closed my eyes, I would see a circle, and it would be radiating out like this, and it just would repeat and repeat and repeat. And so I could, in my mind, I could focus on that, and that would distract me from my thoughts. Over time, that kind of disappeared, and could be staring at birds and trees, could be like staring at a river moving, could be could be a mantra, like sometimes it could be focusing on your breath, anything that gets you out of your, like, oh, I've got these tasks to do today, or I've got this person upset with me, or I've got, like any of the normal worries. Meditation for me is like, my mind is a busy place. My life is very busy. I need that checkup, and I don't get to really take vacations. So meditation is a time for my brain to reset. It's a reset button, to give me, what I've noticed it gives me is I'm more attentive. I'm not as easy to, like, I used to be pretty angry a lot, and I,
That shocks me. You don't strike me as an angry person.
I'm probably not a lot, but I didn't necessarily have. I don't know.
In the hour and a half I've known you, you really don't.
I've changed over the years, but I think I didn't have control over my anger.
Yeah.
And I feel like meditation gives me that moment of hesitation to go, stop.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And you probably learn it through jiu-jitsu or mixed martial arts, or
yeah, I've done a little bit of both. Yeah, I think that's kind of where my definition of that word lies. Is it's anything that requires so much of your focus, your brain isn't preoccupied with anything but the task at hand. And that's what I was going to ask you, if you feel like you enter that, not, without sounding cliche, not necessarily a transcendental state, but a meditative state when you're painting. Do you feel like you reach that, or you think that you're more conscious with your efforts as far as painting goes?
It's
or
harder,
more purposeful?
it's hard in the shop to do it because people are coming and going.
Yeah.
And that is what it is.
But if you get periods of uninterrupted time, if you get an hour and nobody comes in, you know what I mean, early in the morning or in the evening, I assume.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when you're creating, you get into a state that's like a free flow
Definitely.
state?
Definitely. And it could be with any sort of music, like it could be Miles Davis. It could be like lately the new Mr. Bungle, which
Miles Davis. Oh, dude, Mr. Bungle. Yeah. Hell yeah.
The new album is like this.
My stepdad's a big fan of Mr. Bungle.
Oh yeah.
He always played him when we were a kid. Yeah.
That was one of the bands I saw in Seattle in the 90s. My probably my favorite band of all time.
Yeah. No, they're badass, dude. He totally turned me on to when I was a kid. A lot of music I appreciate. Yeah.
Yeah, and but even recently, like I'll put on the new Mr. Bungle, which is their high school demo that they redid.
No way.
And it's thrash metal, 80s style, and
that's fucking hilarious.
But it purges. Like when I listen to it like if there's any buildup of something in the day, it just purges it, and it's like clean slate.
Yeah.
So some people listen to it and go, oh, but I'm like, oh, it just
gets you going.
Yeah, but it like anything that's blocked in me, it just like it's out.
It's like X-Lax for your
for my soul. Yeah. So it's I don't know, man. Like
that'd make a great Mr. Bungle t-shirt. Mr. Bungle X-Lax. No, man, yeah, that, like I feel the same way about, definitely the grappling and the fighting was so short-lived, it's hard to say, but the grappling for sure. It's like when you're in like or yoga is a big one, or surfing, the little bit of surfing that I've done, going out and doing something that requires so much of your attention that, like, if you're not focusing right, you're gonna crash, you're gonna fall in the water, you lose your wave. Or if you're not focusing, you're gonna, on just the task at hand, if I'm thinking about bills while I'm rolling with somebody, now I'm gonna get choked. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, something that lets everything else fall off and kind of slough off to the side, where you're really giving your full undivided attention. It's a cool feeling, man. It's something that there's something really fulfilling about that. I think that it's part of that reciprocal relationship where you take a lot from your soul, whatever that means, and then you have to kind of give something back to it every now and then. And just that reprieve, I think, of not tasking yourself with it mentally or emotionally, addressing every single thing that's going on in your life every single second of the day. You know what I mean? It's like kind of like when a devastating moments when a family member dies. But if you spend every day, every second of the next 2 months grieving, every second of every day, it's like, no, you got to shower, you got to take a shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't spend every second. It's impossible to live in that grief. But stepping outside of the moment and just giving total blank space to your emotions, and giving total blank space and a clean slate to your mental capacities, just by focusing on a task that requires that much horsepower, I think is something that does give back to your body and that does enhance your life on a level I think a lot of people appreciate, whether they're artists or martial artists or they're doing physical fitness. I think that there's something that's, if nothing else, represented well by anecdotal data when you talk to people about how much stuff like that impacts their lives in a positive manner, man, whether it's the pursuance of art or the pursuance of music or the pursuance of physical fitness or passions, whether that's training dogs or being a hunter or being a surfer. I think that there's really something to that people don't give the proper amount of respect to.
Right.
I think a lot of people have emotional and mental turmoil that they could alleviate to a high level of success with a hobby like that, or with a passion. Yeah. It's more than I know for you, obviously it's more than a hobby.
Yeah.
That truly expresses itself as a passion.
Right. No, I think you're spot on there.
like I said.
Wait, tell me about yourself. I don't really know much
Oh
about
fuck! I don't want to talk about me, buddy. That's why I had you on. I want to talk about somebody interesting. No, man. I'm a guy that wants to do this podcast and have people that I've had the pleasure of having even as brief encounters as ours, and that have left an impression on me, and that are, from my perception, giving their earnest effort at producing something positive a platform to push themselves. I I like music, and I like having conversations with people. I like interacting with human beings. It's funny because sometimes I hate human beings, but other times, I realize that that's truly what I live for, is the interaction between myself and other humans. Uh, but I grew up here, man. I'm a lot like you, bro. I grew up here. I grew up surfing. I grew up messing around with my friends and getting into trouble and having scraps and yeah, I'm just a border boy right here at right between Crescent City and Brookings, man.
Cheers.
Hey, cheers, brother. I wanted to get into before. I mean, at this point too, just so you know, if you're not wearing a Spencer Reynolds watch, which I'm sure, if it's not a thing, should be for sure. Oh, it's an hour and 44 minutes in right now. So before it gets to the 7 hour mark, because time's just flying by, man. It's really going smoothly, and I'm happy about that. But I wanted to talk to you about what it means to you to be a business owner in these kind of circumstances, and what it means to you to know that at the end of the day, you're the one responsible for producing the good that provides you with the thing that keeps your lights on and keeps your stomach full. And it is the pressure of that, is it ever overwhelming? And if it is, how do you deal with it, man? Because I think just pressure of day-to-day life, even people going to a self-assured job, like I do, have issues where they kind of go, man, what am I doing? And I'm sure that's beyond something that has run through your head over the course of being an artist, a lifelong artist. But in pursuing that, do the ends justify the means, or do you do exercises to remind yourself of why you're doing this? Do you take mental reps and kind of go, yeah, I need to take notice of this. I'm happy about this. This project turned out well. I'm in the right direction. I'm doing the right things. I'm pursuing the things that embolden me and that make me feel alive. Mm-hmm. Are those things that you're conscious of when you're doing? Are those things that you even prescribe yourself to, practices?
Yeah. Wait. So let me.
I'm sorry. That was a long question. I kind of went on a tangent. I apologize.
So you're asking. What are you asking again?
Do you find motivation in the fact that you are solely responsible for your success as an artist? Or do you cower? Or, I mean, obviously you don't, because you're running your own shop, but when you have negative thoughts about that, how do you reinforce the positivity? How do you get yourself out of bed each day and pursue your goals to get to the point, if somebody wanted to be like you and open up, what kind of advice do you have for coping with the pressures of owning a business in today's society? From your experience, for people looking to get into it in the economy moving forward, for people that still have dreams, even though we're in a non-advantageous position for new businesses opening up, obviously. What advice do you have for people?
Well, it's equally it's tough to do a brick and mortar, but I think anybody that, like you're saying, as far as getting your music out there, it's a really good time to have your own. You could have your own home business, even as a hobby, and then just progress it into something else. But you have so many different resources online to make product. You have social media, which is basically almost you in control of your marketing and your ability to build your audience.
Yeah.
So there's so many restrictions that have been taken off of a small business in order to make it go somewhere, and that's really exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of work. We try to make products we take pride in. We don't try to just put my art on anything. Um, uh,
Yeah, I noticed there's a lack of toasters.
yeah, there's a lack of a lot. There's a lack of a lot. You could put your stuff on a lot of things.
You don't want to be Kiss. You don't have.
No, I wouldn't mind being Kiss. No, dude. I think Kiss is cool. I don't mind
cover.
I don't mind Kiss. I just see a lot of. I mean, because Kiss still had attitude, but
yeah.
You know,
until Dynasty.
But
then they lost all the class.
But
no, I love. I saw Kiss from a bachelor party. I love Kiss.
Oh, really?
I'm the biggest Kiss fan. Yeah. I'm just talking shit.
But I think there's a lot of examples of people putting crappy product out there on crappy things that nobody wants.
Yeah, no,
and I disagree on that on so many levels. I actually have sort of a I don't want to make crap. There's already enough crap in the world. There's so much crap, and it's in our oceans. It's fucking in our landfills. It's like I want to make things that people are gonna want to keep. I don't want to make things that people are gonna that it's purely about money. I don't care a whole lot about money. I care enough to
be fed and housed.
Yep, and keep the ball rolling. But beyond that, I don't have big dreams of big houses. I want to downsize. I want to eliminate my debt and just be able to have, like right now, I don't quite have the freedom to just, I always feel like I have to be doing something.
Yeah.
And I want to just have the freedom if a buddy goes, hey, let's go get a beer. And I'll be like, yeah, I can close shop. Let's go get a beer. I want to have that freedom. I want to, but I want to also so I think business success for me means not building an empire of things that you have to that cost a lot of money for you to maintain, but to minimize your life so that you can go do the things that you're interested in.
Be more free to reach people and experience.
Yeah. Experiences and connections and things like that. That's way more important to me than sort of material success. I don't really give much a shit about material. I'm 47, so it's like I'm like, nah, I don't really care a whole lot about a big car, like a nice car or a big house or anything like that.
Your band's pretty badass, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. I love that thing for tournaments, man. Me and the wife going to grappling tournaments, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, that's nice. But I don't know. I just don't want.
It's not your measure of success.
No. Yeah. Success is. I mean, definitely. I think like if we get to the end of our lives, it will be like the people we've touched and the experiences we've had, and not I made this or that product or or I made this money or that. It's like I
sold more stocks than anybody.
Yeah. Like
kind of this false glory.
Like I just don't. It's not. I'm not bagging people that's their measure of success. That's fine. That's theirs. That's just not mine. It's not something I'm interested in. I want to be free to be as pure to what I think I am that I am, I guess. I don't know.
No, that's awesome, man. I think it's important for people that are just not even beginning the journey, but entertaining the thought of beginning the journey towards artistry as a career of any type, to hear from people who have been through the ringer, people who have pursued their goals, people who have achieved their goals, people who are operating at a level of efficiency where they're making a living at the very least, you know what I mean? And hear that there's still pleasure and there's still fulfillment in chasing those goals, that there's still something that's worth pursuing, even though society and the media tell us that success is measured by cars and houses and diamond rings and XYZ. I think it's important to hear from people who are enjoying the process of pursuing something that they're passionate about, or creating something that they're passionate about, or not conforming to the societal norms of, hey, listen, buddy, you're going to go to your cubicle from 9 to 5, and if you're late, you're going to get written up, and if you leave early, you're going to get written up, and you're not going to get a Christmas bonus, and you're going to get fucked. And guess what? We need you to come in on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I think it's important for people to hear from that narrative that is your life. The people that chose the less traditional path. When two paths divulged in the woods, they took the one less traveled. Yeah. I think that we get a lot of that. Hey, listen, man, you got to go to college and you got to become an investment banker. That's what you got to do. You got to be a lawyer. You got to be, you know, I think that narrative gets pushed down our throats so much. It's important to hear from people who have pursued paths as artists or as non-conventional means of self-sufficiency. I think that's important to hear from those people, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, and to the people that are happy with the cubicle, fantastic, great. Good on you. Yeah. Like, you're tougher than me in some ways.
Well, even if you are doing the cubicle life, like take that time. Take that time to go and do that project in your garage, or do that welding, or do that masonry, or do that garden work, or whatever it is. Whatever the fucking thing is that you like, take time to go do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, and don't worry about, just do there's a Henry David Thoreau quote that's something to do with the man who is richest is the one whose pleasures are cheapest, or something like that, you know. And you can find a lot of fulfillment. I've never found fulfillment in buying things. Like, for a moment I do, unless that thing that I buy leads to fun experiences.
No, yeah, exactly.
But
buying a new surfboard is indicative of hopefully surfing more. In the
future. But
the
accumulation of things only leads to management of crap. You know, like I don't.
I'm a sucker, buddy, and sometimes I'm such a stupid monkey.
Me too.
You know what I mean? Like, I see
But I'm old. But I've already been through the process. Like, I'm older, so it's like I've already done it. Like I bought things, and
I'm on Wish.com and I see the blow dart gun, and I was like, oh, I gotta have it. It's $4 from Wish.
Well, $4.
Yeah, $4. You can't pass up. I need the didgeridoo. I need the crap. But it's fun because, like you said, if it's something that you perceive as an opportunity to pursue unusual experiences, then what's the harm? As a human being, if you got the extra $4 and you want to wait the 5.5 months it took for that fucking thing to ship from Wish.com from China all over to here,
right,
then go ahead and do it, you know. But as far as like the rings and the watches and the gold chains and the, you know what I mean? Oh, I got leather seats custom embroidered with my name and my Lamborghini. It's like, okay, buddy. Like,
and if you got the money to do that, fine. Do it. Yeah, I'm not really like a hater on it.
Oh no, that's super baller, dude. If I had it, I'd be like, hey, check out my fucking leather seats that say my name in them.
Yeah, I would have a pretty nice car, and probably a classic car if I had the money. I would have.
What would you have? What would be the?
Well, it's. I feel like it's cliche these days, but like a '64 Lincoln Continental has always been my favorite.
What color?
Probably black, just
black.
Yeah, not a convertible, hard top.
Dude, that's fucking hot rod Lincoln right there, dude.
I love them. But there's other cars too, man. I've seen, I think there's a Buick in town, like an old Buick with like big fins, and God, that's beautiful. But you know, but I love. I mean, I'm not a car.
I think there's something to the aesthetic of things.
Totally.
You know what I mean? I think there's something definitely to it, but you can't drown in it like you're speaking to. You can't let it consume you, and
Yeah,
that drive your purpose.
Right, and there's something about the old cars that aesthetic was way more important. I mean, I feel like
the cars now are fucking ugly, right?
Well, sometimes
Damn.
sometimes new ones are, like they've succeeded on some new ones, but
dude, that's why I want that Bronco. I've had my same shitty truck, my S10 for 10 years. I want to get one of those Broncos. Have you seen those?
Yeah, I want one too.
When they hit retro bodies right, they do it really good.
Yeah.
You know, and not just Ford, but automotive companies. Some of those that Hellcat, that was pretty badass when they put that out. But not Ford, but when they do it right, they do it right. But when they do it wrong, they do it wrong. Dude, some of those Mustangs that came out in the mid 2000s when I was in high school, in like 2006, 2007, some of those Mustangs are just ugly. God, they're ugly as thin. When they try to remake those old cars, it's like, you're not even close. What are you doing? Stop. You're killing it.
I know.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do you think that the pursuance of goals, or the pursuance of, let's call a spade, the pursuance of greed is palpable in the products that people produce over time? Do you think there's artists that you've seen personally, or people that you've known in that circle, that you go, oh man, that guy's motivated by greed, and it's written all over his face, and he's a greaseball, and you can feel it as soon as he walks in the room? He's not. You kind of feel like you meet people like that aren't real artists, or not to be an asshole, but
oh yeah, I've traveled and done shows, and I've seen the whole gamut of artists. And
does it ever shock you the level of success that sleazeballs achieve?
Yeah, I don't really.
Salesman more than.
Well, I think early on I would probably use really negative terms towards them, but
like I'm doing. I apologize.
No.
I'm not being negative.
I'm just saying.
Intrinsically, I'm a negative person, so that's to my.
No, I like that's the terms you use are the terms you use. That's fine. I just I think over time I get to know some of these people, and I see that they're not sleazeballs.
Yeah,
they're just trying to make it work.
Cheese balls, maybe.
Cheese, maybe more cheese ball than sleazeball.
Okay.
Then they're just trying to make it work.
Earnest intentions gone awry, as opposed to.
Yeah, and a lot of this I've encountered when I do shows like way down south or whatever, but I see the artist become the salesman and the huckster or whatever, and it's like, oh, it's just.
Is it hard to watch?
It's hard to watch, but I have to do it too.
Yeah.
To an extent.
How does it make you feel when you do it? Does it make you feel cheesy, or does it make you feel like?
Well, I mean, I've just had to learn structure.
It's got to be hard when you're sitting there, you're painting in your gallery, you're creating something. Some older gentleman walks in, well-to-do. You see he's got cufflinks on or whatever, and he's like, "Wow, son, that's something very impressive." You're sitting there, and you're trying not to make him into a mark, but at the same time, you're like, "Hey, man, if you like it, you can buy it, and it's gonna be it's $2,000 and it's badass." And
I think the gallery has been a real exercise in non-judgment, because you do not know who's going to come through that door and drop a lot of money, and they could look like they just rolled in mud, and or they could look super sharp and take all your time and buy nothing. You just never know, and you never know. You don't know who, and it's been a really good. That's actually been a sort of like a good spiritual practice for me, of like not judging people. Just being open to the experience, and just each time it's like I get interrupted in what I'm doing, and I have to pay attention to these people, which that was very hard for me initially, and over time you're just like, that's what the shop is, that's what I'm here for, that's what I do. So then I have kind of a spiel of things that I go through, and I say, and if a conversation starts, if it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not a good conversation starter, so that's why I have to have a spiel that just kind of. But I've had some great conversations with people I had an initial judgment in my head about, and then I'm like, I'm an asshole.
Kind of defied your expectations of that person.
Yeah, like just going, oh yeah, I'm a dickhead.
It's kind of cool when that happens, huh?
It's great. I actually like being the dickhead. I like going, yeah, I was a fucking asshole right there. Like that person is cool as shit, and I judged him, and
it's easy to do though, isn't it?
it's so well. It's our nature.
It's second nature, yeah.
I think it's our you know, like I think it was a survival mechanism for so long, and it's still important, but you just have to know, you know, it's like
you have to know when to purposefully overlook it.
It's like the Kenny Rogers, you know, it's like you got to know when to hold him. Yeah, you know? It's like you got to know, like you got to. It's just there's times that you got to fold them, you know, like, and there's a lot of times like, okay, man, I gotta cut, you know, like I gotta cut this, you know, I gotta stop this conversation and get back, you know, like you search for ways to get out of things, and then there's times when you lean in more, and you know, who knows, like but it's been fascinating, and being an introvert, part of the challenge of the business has been the social aspect, but if I embrace it, I can grow in it. It's sort of futile to fight it, because that's part of what I do. Yeah. And I think even like when I would go to those shows and I would see people with their shtick and their spiel to people, is like, ugh. But part of that is like, that's part of your job.
Yeah.
You know, like that's
part
cringe,
of what but there's also something to learn.
That's a part of what I gotta embrace is sort of finding my way socially, talking about art or whatever in the world.
Yeah. I think that's one of the best quotes I ever got from my high school art teacher, Mr. Hank. And I remember he said, one of the hardest parts about art is knowing when to say when. Knowing when to say enough is enough.
Yeah.
And kind of calling it quits and stop adding and stop modifying and stop.
Yeah.
Maybe if I got this a lighter hue of blue, maybe that would really be the ticket, you know, and it's to the point where you ruin something by beating it into the ground.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've done that a million times.
Oh yeah. Well, let's not do it 1,000,001. We're at the 2-hour mark right now. Like I said, cool. This is flown by, man. I'm honored to have you on. I really appreciate you coming on and speaking with me. I was really excited to do this, and when you said yeah, I know we had some scheduling issues the first time, but I'm glad that we were able to get on here. And if you have any stuff you want to announce for the shop, man, or anything you want to plug while you're thinking about it that you got coming up, or it's kind of crazy right now. Everything's on lockdown. Yeah. So there's not like a lot of art shows, I'm sure, going on.
Yeah, no art shows.
Things like that.
Like if people want to buy my art, my website's artandsurf.com. If you want to follow me on social media, it's SpencerReynoldsArtist.com, and Absurdimental is my more weirder stuff.
Yeah.
Semi-aquatic. It's all right there. That's the shop. I'm on Facebook.
You're also right across the street from the Redwood Theater in Brookings, Oregon.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's where I met you. That's where I had the pleasure. Hey, and it's been a pleasure today again, reconnecting and having some good, earnest conversation, man. I really appreciate you coming on, brother.
Thanks for having me.
All right, fellas, ladies, gentlemen, that's all she wrote.